Ready to roll?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I gotta get my mic fixed still. I need a new cord.
Oh, that's all it is, just the cable?
Yeah, the cable like stripped, and I thought I
I'll
had.
I'll send you one on Amazon.
Oh, great. Okay,
I can figure out how to replace that quickly.
sweet.
All right, Chaz, it's August 16th, back on US soil.
Back in America. Back
Welcome.
home. Thank you so much. I
How's it
got
feel?
Bruce Springsteen playing in my head. I've got a patriotic hat also on my head.
USA. You know that
USA.
that Bruce Springsteen song is not pro America, right?
I did know that. Did we talk about that on the program
I don't
or?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I knew that. I feel from you or from one of our listeners or something, but then just reread it again that the American anthem is in fact not.
We're talking about Born in the USA, of course, but it's a criticism about America coming. It was told through the eyes of a soldier coming back from Vietnam, but it's a
Yes.
criticism about how he was not taken care of by his home country, basically.
Yep. We've talked, of course, my great love for what's it called, New Jersey. What do I love again?
Asbury.
Asbury Park, New Jersey. I forgot. Have you been to Asbury Park, New Jersey?
Yep.
Did you go to the Stone Pony?
Nope. I drove past it, did not go in.
Did you think about going in?
I was not there in the evening. I was there during the day, and I would love to go back and go in.
Yeah, it's a good place, that Asbury Park, and it's Stone Pony. Yeah, Tommy, what's his last name again? Tommy Ticklehands. Tommy Incan? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, his dad was a bouncer at the Stone Pony. That Tommy is like such an Asbury Park legend, but I think when your dad is a bouncer at the Stone Pony, you don't get more legendary than that.
Well, right up in second position then is our buddy Professor Mansell,
Exactly, Professor
who
Mansell.
so Professor Mansell posted a photo this week of Bruce Springsteen in he was like in a deli somewhere in Asbury Park, like he's there right now, and he was in there just grabbing a sandwich. So somebody took a photo with him and posted it online, and the hat that Bruce is wearing is a Mansell surfboards hat.
I mean, so him and Tommy Incan then are fighting it out for top spot for first number one son of Asbury Park.
I've got to say, man, Mansell surfboards, been following him for years, had him on the podcast years ago. His boards look better and better all the time, and his reach seems to kind of grow. The guy works full time as a college professor.
Does
The
he
surfboard
still?
thing is, yeah, and the surfboard thing is just a side gig.
Man, I
And
was at,
he keeps having kids, and they're all girls. He had three girls when I met him. Then he had a fourth. Now he has a fifth. And I'm like, dude, they're all girls.
that's amazing. That is amazing. I had dinner at the Mansell house, I think, or we had dinner somewhere out in Asbury Park, and he is such a classy guy.
The best, the
Yeah.
best. And the boards, like I said, the boards continue to look better and better. They were already like top class. And the more I see, I'm like, oh my God, like everything's looking insane. So shout out to Mansell Surfboards.
Shout out indeed. And it's funny, talking about this. Have you watched season 3 of The Bear yet?
I never
Yes.
made it past season one.
Oh, you weren't a Bear fan.
I was a fan. It was too I had PTSD from watching it. Like
Yeah.
that level of anxiety that go like I felt anxious after watching an episode in the way that I did when I'd get home from a 6-hour restaurant shift when I was
Yes.
22 years old.
Yes, chef. And but the I get the same feeling about wanting to be a chef from watching The Bear, as in it's the last thing I would ever want to do.
Yeah.
I have that same feeling about being a surfboard shaper. It is like literally the last thing I would want to do. Like go in there to a small room and be really focused and attentive to details. Those things are not attention to details. This may come as a surprise to you, David Lee Scale, is not one of my strong suits.
And how are you at working with your hands?
Very, very, very bad. It's still, I've talked about it on this program probably multiple times. It's my first honest to goodness memory that I have from school, is hating cut and paste when I was in kindergarten. Like the scissors and the paper and the paste would come out and it's time to make something. And I'd just be like, it's going bad quick.
Can I talk my way through this instead? Uh,
Exactly.
you want to know what else you're really bad at?
What?
Your commentary on Olympic skateboarding.
Ooh.
Oh, Chaz, I love your books and your snarky take on just about everything surf related, but your rambling, uninformed thoughts on Olympic skateboard on August 9th show was just absurd. First off, the 50-year-old British guy, quote unquote,
Oh,
is named Andy McDonald, not Andy McDowell, as you said on the podcast. Andy McDowell is a washed up, curly haired 80s actress. Andy McDonald, who lives a few miles from your North County home, is a vert pioneer, second only to Tony Hawk in awards and competition victories. He has been skateboarding powerhouse for 30 years. Any athlete over 50 qualifying for any Olympic sport, especially in a sport that completely wrecks your body, is a mother effing hero, superhero, period. Second, I know you're closely connected to a street skater because of your wife's representation of certain street skater, but here's the facts. The Japanese will continue to control street skate beyond uh, or because they spend the 4 years between Olympics working on that one trick that the judges will score the highest. That's it. They're typically not all round skateboarders. They train for one or two tricks that will win. Great skateboarders like Jagger simply skate. They have an arsenal of tricks and can move from street to bowls seamlessly. That's real skateboarding. They just might not have the one trick that the judges haven't seen before. But Olympic street skating is so lame because of all this reality and can't even compare to park skating because the full run of tricks that's required. Third, the juggling and ukulele playing that the park skaters did are just ways to create a character. Skateboarding's history is built on characters, misfits, punks, and clowns. They didn't fit in anywhere else but skateboarding, where all oddballs are welcome. Neil Blender, Mark Gonzalez, Andy Anderson, Rodney Mullen, etc. The list of oddballs goes on and on. As a 54-year-old guy who has been skating since 1981, skateboarding's quote nerdy aspect saved my weird skate rat ass when I couldn't fit in anywhere else. So yeah, keep skating weird. BT Dub, I was in Paris for the Olympics and attended all the skateboarding events. Park was far more exciting than street. A 30-second run of multiple insane tricks is more exciting than one slide down a rail. Stick with your surf critique. Okay. Cheers and keep up the great podcast, Jason.
Jason, thank you so much. The knock on the chin, well received. I will take it. Ideally, here's the thing. I think Park for the outside viewer, like me, really, uh, should be more interesting. The fact that there's somehow the stakes don't feel as high, and again, that's maybe just to me, but it doesn't feel like high stakes. It feels, whatever. I think there's a problem in the judging and in the presentation of Park, where the street, that tension builds. So, like they're each trying to land that one trick. And I know that's not probably essentially skateboarding. It's probably as much as, competitive surfing is to the act of like whatever, however we surf. But I don't know. I just think the tension of that moment really, really matters. And I think it matters less. It feels like it matters less in Park.
Well, I wrote off Jason's entire email because he was completely wrong about Andy McDowell being a washed up actress. She
Not
is
washed up.
not washed up at all. She's still in her prime. And by the way, her daughters, one of them, Margaret Qualley, is one of the best actresses of that generation,
Yeah.
of our
J
generation.
Jason, stick
Yeah,
to
Jason.
skateboarding. Keep your nose out of
Exactly.
movies, man.
How dare you defame my childhood's greatest crush?
Yeah.
Um, okay, a couple of other updates from the Olympics. I was questioning how much you think Snoop Dogg makes, and I guessed I was like, I don't know. Do you think he made 10 million bucks from NBC for being there? It turned out to be 9 million. I was not far
Oh,
off.
very, very close.
Yeah, listeners messaged immediately. I guess there was a couple of news stories written about it, but his fee was 500K a day.
I mean, worth every penny though. Like somehow, I mean, I haven't seen I guess, final reports, but it seems like this is the highest, at least in the US, is like the highest viewed Olympics ever and stuff, right?
I don't know. I didn't see but I just felt that way.
I think it did very well, and I think a lot of why it did well was because of Snoop Dogg. So
Snoop bridged the gap.
yeah, he makes it interesting.
I never would have put my money on him as being the person who would, but he really did bridge the gap. He engaged, like he was who everybody was talking about as they referenced all the other sports.
Well, and then being in Paris also, like everyone was either had a Snoop sighting story or had an interaction with him. Like he is the draw for everyone there too, right? Like there's
Yeah.
something magnetic about him, and good on him. He's got the it factor, I suppose.
Yeah. Amazing. Um, so final Olympic follow-up story is the reason I would be most mad at Felipe's dad if I were you is because you are now missing all of Raygun's breakdancing memes.
I mean, I don't get memes anymore, full stop. But yeah, the Raygun ones are, yeah, the we didn't talk about, did we record after breakdancing? So did we talk about that?
Before we did not
Yes.
get to talk about Raygun had not done her routine
She
last time
had
we
not
recorded.
entered the chat.
Yeah.
Wife was there for Raygun's routine in person. And then young daughter went and saw the finals, but unfortunately Raygun had been kicked out. So I asked her because it started like the next morning. I saw it on the news. And so I was like chuckling about it and asked the wife, like, was it like, how was it in person? I mean, did you feel? And she just said it looked awkward, but it didn't seem like it was this viral moment in the making. But
Interesting.
wow, that's sure what it became.
Yeah, I n- n- I haven't loved a moment on the internet as much as I have with this in a long, long time. I can't even remember when. Maybe I Like Turtles would have been the last one, but this is right up there with me. And every single meme that gets posted, I stop and watch. It's like, stop everything. Let me see how they applied this to something else in my life because it is so incredibly hilarious. And I don't know the backstory of Raygun, but it just seemed to me like this person saw an opportunity to get into the Olympics. Like she had no appreciation of breakdancing, no understanding of how it's done. Australia probably doesn't have a breakdance culture, so she goes, "Oh, there's an opportunity for our country to be in the Olympics via this one thing. I'm going to watch a couple YouTube videos, buy the clothing, buy the hat and just go out there and wing it."
Well, here you go. Rachel Gunn, aka Rachel Gunn, is actually a professor in Australia and studies her field of study is like modern dance, and I think her specific focus is breakdancing. So
Okay.
she is like a breakdance. She is the Matt Warshaw of breakdancing, I
And
think.
probably dances as well as Matt Warshaw would breakdance.
Exactly. But I mean, this is the, I think she loves it. I think she loves the culture. I think she's like, this is her thing, right? And apparently the Australian Olympic Committee, because there was so much heat, they said, no, whatever their qualification was, you have to, because you can't just go and do something that nobody's doing and then get to the Olympics. You have to actually qualify. Like, right, you and I couldn't think, okay, what's an obscure sport that few people do or no Americans do? And whatever, let's say canoeing or whatever. Even though I know that's probably popular, but let's say canoeing. You and I couldn't just go get in a canoe, do a couple laps, qualify and go. Like you have to actually qualify internationally. So you have to so she apparently beat people on the international stage at some point and got enough,
The
got enough
qualification
points.
cannot be rigorous. I think that
Yep.
there was so few competitors that she got in easily.
I mean, but she had to still compete against, non-Australians and stuff places. She had to go to wherever the world championships, wherever Budapest or wherever that was, and then get enough points there. So she had to beat people.
So Australia didn't have an in into the Olympics without earning a certain number of points, basically.
Yes,
So it wasn't like there was just going to be two Australian competitors no
no
matter
matter
what.
what. Exactly.
Okay.
So but in any case,
Well, their qualification is way too low then because she should not have been in the
I mean,
Olympics.
it's amazing. But like the story, like following it, not from I would see, you're right. I don't get memes anymore. I full on do not see memes. I don't get to be part because the meme culture is how these things are unpacked, right? But
Totally.
I've been reading about it, and it feels like it's been poorly handled by both Australia. Australia really had her back, which was cool. Like the Australian Olympic team said, she's awesome. Like whatever. She should have she just was interviewed and said she's been devastated, or the criticism has been pretty devastating, right? So she's really feeling the pain from this. Where if I was going to be her PR crisis management, I would say, are you kidding me? You're one of the most famous things to come out of the Olympics,
I know.
and maybe it's not in a way that you want, but take those lemons and make lemonade, Raygun. Like
There's a huge opportunity.
you could be selling all kinds of merch. You could do like some kind of, I mean, there's the world is your oyster. You should be leaning into this moment because you're going to be, I mean, it's out of your control now. And this is one of the things that didn't die in a 24-hour news cycle, right? Like, I feel the Raygun meme, like, she has entered now meme Hall of Fame along with Turtle Boy and whoever. So just quit your day job and make a living off meme life. Like, go to
Go
meme conventions, be Raygun.
go hard for 1 year.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that it would last longer. You know, Hawk Tua is already kind of cycled out. Like she
Yeah.
got the management team, tried to go do a couple of things, those never really landed, and she's already out of our consciousness. Raygun might get that long of a run. She might get a year out of it or whatever. But actually, her name is really good. Her name sets her up for success.
Completely.
Raygun as a breakdancer's name is a great breakdance name, but also her name is Rachel Gunn. So it makes
Exactly.
perfect sense. So there is branding opportunities for sure. But I'm always surprised by people's feelings getting hurt, you know, because there's nothing from the memes where I ever thought,
It's mean.
or I hate Rachel Gunn, or
Yeah.
she's a despicable person, or how dare she game the Olympics, or anything like that. All that it made me want to do is kind of want to hear her talk and know more about her and follow her and see where this all goes next.
Yeah.
So she's misinterpreting what memes are about as
I think
criticism, you know?
I think, and I don't know how much of the meme she's upset about. I think there was a lot of chatter of like really denigrating her, like she did not belong. She took a space from somebody. She made a mockery of herself and of her country on national TV or on international TV. Like, it's that kind of, it's like,
You could take that to the bank too, though,
I mean,
and laugh at them, you know?
you have to, like, at that point you have lost control of the narrative, and so you may as well, like, your options are to be bummed about it or to milk it, and you might as well milk. Why not?
Well, there's so much analogy to surfing here because breakdancing is akin to surfing in all those ways. There's a subculture, there's a certain look that you have to, you know, not that you have to have, but that just
Rules to
goes with it.
follow. Yeah.
Yeah, rules to follow, unwritten rules to follow, etiquette stuff, but then also impossible to judge and score. And
Yeah.
so the fact that the Olympic Committee set up a judging criteria and she was able to get into it kind of proves that the criteria was really failed because she completely missed the essence of breakdancing. And
Yeah.
that's the same thing goes with surfing, especially by holding the ISA games at El Salvador for an event that's going to take place at Chopo, you know? So I think just like Olympics has been, or the Olympics has not renewed breakdancing for the 2028 Olympics, they should also not renew surfing.
I totally agree with you. I mean, in surf media, Olympic surfing, I'm happy for it only as another talking point, right?
Mhm.
It gives us something to discuss and think about. And as a surf fan, right? Like, it's a fun storyline, but in that way. But the actual reality of it, surfing does not belong in the Olympics. It's skateboarding belongs. Skateboarding really fits well with the Olympic whole thing. Surfing absolutely does not, unless you could boil it down to one day in pumping conditions somewhere. And then I would say if you could do that, surfing, welcome back to the five-ringed circus. But otherwise, it doesn't, absolutely doesn't work.
It doesn't work for what the Olympics are trying to achieve, but they're both greater than the Olympic sports in a myriad of ways. And as evidenced by the fact that two of the most kind of long lasting images that are going to come out of this are Raygun's memes and Medina's kick out.
Yep.
So that's these two things are more compelling than organized sport that you can objectively score, but don't fit within the criteria of organized sport that you can objectively score.
It's insane to me, David Lee Scales, insane that people have not figured out that that Fernando, that everyone, and I know there's other interests involved and, blah, 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 blah. You get a lot of entry fees for contests, so you better have 170 people paying entry fees and all this kind of junk. But how have the more intelligent people not gotten in the room and say, look, we need to figure out a 1 day surfing format. We got to boil this down because this is
Yeah.
the only thing, it won't be a WSL type thing. It's going to be a new kind of surfing format that's 1 day. And, how's the ISA not have this on there? Instead, it was like, oh, no, no, we need our next contest to have 8,342 surfers in it. And it's going to
Right.
run for 3 million days in 2 foot high surf. Like,
And
it's
and
stupid.
cost us way more money than it needs to because of those things.
It's stupid. A 1 day surf contest, boom,
Yeah.
in, out, done.
Well, The other update from last week when we were doing a deep dive into Billy Kemper, which I was unaware. Did you know Billy Kemper's wife is Bruno Mars's sister?
No, I absolutely did not know that, which means that, I mean, Billy Kemper is royalty. He's Hawaiian royalty.
I know. So this was in the commentary of the stab piece that we discussed last week. A bunch of people's comments were referencing, Billy fighting over $14,000 basically when he won that. Uh, his wife is Bruno Mars' sister. And then there was follow-up comments of like, does your brother-in-law pay your bills? Like just knowing that she's the sister of somebody who's famous and rich doesn't mean that Billy is famous and rich. But I still think it is relevant that his wife in the conversation of the How Surfers Get Paid episode and Billy reneging on the deal. I think it's relevant that his wife has proximity to substantial wealth.
The question for you here, oh, but maybe not. Maybe. Here you go. Bruno Mars was in the news not that long ago. Can't remember the story, but I think it was that he might have been in like ridiculous debt, that he had a big gambling problem or something. And so maybe Billy had to win for Bruno. Maybe that's
He was shoveling money over to Bruno. Wow, what a take. Um, Apparently everybody else knew this detail about Bruno Mars, by the
I,
way. I think maybe it was in the Billy documentary, which we did
uh,
not watch because
that's
I
fun.
saw people kind of referencing that. But I think that is a huge story that for some reason we didn't know. By the way, I love when I hear the story of Nicolas Cage owing money to the tax man, or
Yep.
Bruno Mars being in gambling debt or whatever it
Yep.
is. Cause I'm just like, I
How?
guess I guess things never change.
Yeah.
Like if you're young and you're working minimum wage, but you need a car, and so you take out a loan and then you can't catch up and you're in debt, and God forbid you need new tires or
Yeah.
whatever, like it all just kind of feels like this snowball that and then you're older and you get the mortgage and you think you can level up to the mortgage, but then you have kids and those kids need to go to college. Then you just become a millionaire and you know what? I would rather live a billionaire's lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's all the same, no matter
It-
who you are.
all the same. There's like no stop. There's no, this is enough.
There's no amount of money that you earn that you then realize, I don't want more.
I don't want more. And not only do I not want more, I'm going to be really, really responsible with the money I have
Right.
and do the right things with it. I'm going to have
Right.
fun,
Right.
but I'm not going to go buy anything spontaneously, et cetera, et cetera.
The key is to grow up in the depression, I think.
Yeah.
Like my grandmother never spent a dime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like literally would not wash her hair more than 1 day a week because shampoo costs money.
But I mean, this is the thing though. Imagine living that life. Like how I would way rather have the stresses of the tax man coming after me than just being so glum your whole life boiling down to transactions that you're not going to make because they cost money.
Okay, that's an extreme example I gave you, but is there an in
Still though,
between? Is there an in between where you can enjoy some of the finer things in life and still sleep at night knowing the tax man is not going to knock on your door?
uh, so far I have not found it.
Is there somebody listening to the sound of our voices who is living that perfect middle of the road, walking on the razor blade without cutting themselves?
Write or call or text in and share your perfect situation.
So I think that it's way easier to live on the side of um living within your means. Like or what I mean is the struggle isn't to pay the bills. The struggle is to not envy more.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
true.
mean? Like
Yeah,
if you could eliminate all your emotion, it's easy to like understand. I make $100, I'm going to only spend $70.
yeah,
No big deal. That's very simple. The problem is when you're spending the 70 to not want more better food, a better car, better things for your kids, and then go spend 130.
exactly.
That's the conundrum. So
Except
so
for
so focus
spending
on
130 is pretty fun.
yeah, it is fun. Eating the extra calories is pretty fun too, until you look in the mirror. All right, Billy Kemper. Oh, speaking of
But yeah, I have more questions for you about this.
okay.
But whatever, did you have a final?
Well, it relates to us to wanting to earn more money. Billy Kemper's OnlyFans is now up and running.
Oh yeah. So in his OnlyFans, with these OnlyFans things, obviously, I think, or it's assumed maybe that for Billy Kemper, it's not nude surf instructionals, right?
It is assumed that, and I went to his page. I was not going to pay the money to access, and all of the titles for the different things seem to be like workout related, or I think they're pretty vague, to be honest. I had a hard time even deciphering if he was selling access to a workout or insights into surfing big
Surfing.
waves.
Okay. Okay. Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm just so curious about how, because obviously OnlyFans has tried to branch out of porn or being like, no, it's not porn. It's like a, whatever, master classes. You can come and learn how to write with somebody or, whatever. Um, I'd be curious what percentage of their thing is still pure porn and anyone who gets on the platform, the pull to the porn, right? Like if
Yeah.
Billy Kemper's doing his workouts and he's got, 5 subscribers, then he, thinks, oh man, okay, I'm gonna take my shirt off and do my workout. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, ooh, getting 30. And then you think, okay, what if I get in some short shorts and do my workout? Well, you're on a slippery slope, Billy Kemper.
Yeah, except now that you're saying that, I don't think I've ever seen Billy Kemper with his shirt on. He lives with his shirt off. Like he flies on airplanes with his shirt off and then
Uh,
tells them he's working so that you can't tell him what to do.
I have a question. Uh, was there any more blowback about Sam McIntosh shutting off the comments and all that?
Yeah, I got an email over the weekend from Stab, like a mass email as being a premium subscriber, and he said the title subject line said, "Here's why I turned the comments off." So I was like, boring. Like I already read why you turn the comments off. No
Yeah.
big deal. So I scrolled to the bottom, and at the very bottom of the email, he said, "That's why I'm turning the comments back on."
Oh,
So
okay.
he went back on, turned the comments on. I think he saw the error of his ways. Um, I would like to think he listened to my rationale on this
Yep.
podcast. But so I clicked over to look at the page again, the original page, to see the comments, and a bunch of the original comments had been deleted.
Oh yeah. See,
So
Sam's playing tricky. He's playing dirty pool here. Like
yeah,
he is, don't have your cake and eat it too, man. Like if you want to be protect your access and be draconian and all that, turn the comments off. It's your site. You do what you want, right?
yeah.
Don't say then, oh wait, we're gonna turn them off, quietly delete everything bad, turn them back on, and say, see, look, we are a bastion of free speech.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I did not see him say anything about, by the way, we deleted the offending comments.
Yeah.
So those just
Boo.
were mysteriously gone without any acknowledgement.
Boo. Did Billy cop a further licking in the
Oh
comment?
yeah. Oh yeah. Like it
What?
is unanimous. Like there is nobody in there being like, no, he's a really good guy.
Yeah.
So, well, huge news that's happened since you and I last spoke. Kelly and Kalani. Oh, we owe them a congratulations on
Congratulations on your unnamed son.
birth of their baby boy.
It was truly Kelly Slater. I think he gets to Pete Kelly a lot, right? I think there's Kelly Slater climbing up. Look at, he made a sandal that is based on the moon and turtles. He is now on top of Pete Kelly Slater. Then no, the clouds part and you see a higher peak, and there's Kelly again climbing. But Kelly Slater refusing to name his son is, I feel, peak Kelly Slater.
So Kelly Slater did a long form interview with Barton Lynch this week on Barton Lynch's The Stoked Bloke podcast. I was just watching it as you and I were signing on here. So I haven't gotten to that part of the episode yet, but apparently at some point he reveals to Barton that they're not going to name the son until the son reveals his identity to them, his personality. Is that what it is?
Basically, yeah, it's that
Okay.
like he says that it took them he and Kalani a couple months or something to name their Chihuahua Action, to come up with the genius name that is Action. Took him a couple months. And so since this was the boy, he was imagining it might take up to a year to like get to know the kid and see what he's like, and then which I'm thinking this is like, I mean, really, it's totally bizarre and counter. It's like the idea of a person who has never once had one of their ideas challenged, where somebody said, wait, it's the onus is on you. The history does this for a reason. We as human beings don't come into the earth and then just get called something until we decide to call ourselves something. Like that's not the way how humanity works, Kelly. So you thinking, I mean, I guess this goes along with Kelly being smarter than all the doctors and all this. I think Kelly thinks he is such a genius. And of course, this is self-evident to him that this kid chooses his name. Maybe Kelly hates being named Kelly, or maybe
Well,
he hates
he hated
Robert.
being named Robert,
Yeah.
actually. His name is Robert, so you're right.
Yeah.
That's exactly, man, it would have taken a psychologist 6 months to figure this one out. And you just figured
He
it
did.
out in a 30-second rant that was supposed to be a celebratory
But
congratulations.
here's the thing though, his like this poor kid who people are just gonna be, oh, kid, like it's obviously when somebody has a newborn, the natural reaction to ask anyone is, oh, what's his name? Right.
Yeah.
And so Kelly and Kalani now have set themselves up for a long-winded explanation of, oh, well, we have, we're kicking some stuff around, but we haven't named because, we're getting to know him and we want him to be part of the process. And how many times you fucking kid is part of the process of naming themselves? Like, are you
Especially a newborn. Like a
a
newborn,
newborn?
how much personality are you expecting this baby to exhibit?
I'll tell you, when young daughter was born, um, she or through her like early life, right? She really liked purple things. She would always have she was basically Harold in the Purple Crayon. She would always have something purple in her hand. Sometimes it was even a purple crayon, but always a purple rake, toy rake, a purple everything. And when she could kind of, or yeah, when she what like 4 or something like that, I think she really wanted to be called, or she wished her name was Violet. She really liked the name Violet. And now, of course, she looks back on all of that time and she really loves her name and is if her name was Violet, it would be weird. That's not her, but that's what she would have chosen. Kelly's setting his kid up for something like this. You should have just done the adult thing, Kelly. You should have done the responsible thing. Hey, kid, as your father, I am naming you this, right? I am bestowing upon you this moniker. This is for you to carry now. And, that's what a father does instead of, we're just going to see. We're going to see if he likes, maybe he'll like the dirt and we'll call him Joe Dirt, Joe Dirt Slater.
Dear Tay. Uh, it's funny. Of all the non-surfing things we've discussed over the years, I don't think we've spent more time on any one subject than naming your kids.
It's really, really true. I mean, because it's, again, essential. It is, you are carrying that. You're either liking it or disliking it. Who was it that had, oh, it was Blake Lively, I think. Blake Lively sure has been getting fried these days. It's weird when celebrities, like who you think are totally innocuous, like Lively, Ryan Reynolds' wife, you
Yeah.
think, oh, and all of a sudden there's like what seems to be a campaign to utterly smear them. I'm thinking, wow, why and where did it come from?
It's intentional, probably put out partially by her PR team, all to build up sales for the movie that she's currently starring in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I guess maybe if you're part of the thing, if you're like, or
I think she very much is. Yeah.
she's like, okay, let's go roast. I'm gonna go get roasted just for mood ticket sales.
Well, then there will be a faction who fights back for her. Lively fans will come out of the woodwork, and it just goes back and back for weeks, back and forth for weeks.
But as it pertains to our Kelly Slater discussion, she has like a funny middle name. I can't remember what it was. She talked about it in an interview. But that's part of her thing, right? Is like she has a name, a middle name that maybe she doesn't like or unique. But
Yeah.
then she said, or Ryan Reynolds really liked it. And so that made her like it, right? But that's all part and parcel with you naming your child, is there's these things in it. And Kelly just to be a weirdo and not to do it, but then think like imagine that this is the because this is the thing with Kelly. I'm for sure he believes this is the evolved way to, you know, you don't like shackle your kid with a name. Kid is part of the process.
I think it's way too much pressure that they're putting on this thing. Like, don't overthink it. Like
Yeah.
what name can you possibly come up with on month 8 where everybody's going to be like, Oh, oh my God. It's so beautiful. You finally bestowed upon us the greatest name we have ever heard for a son. Like there's nothing. If he hit it at 8 months with James, we're gonna be
Yeah.
like, could have done that 8 months ago, dude. Like, who gives a crap, Or if it's something too
Rudy.
prosaic,
Yeah.
Thor,
Yeah.
hey, Jesus, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it'll just be like, dude, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So there's literally nothing from this point on that you can do that'll assign the weight to it that you think he is going to present with his personality.
Well, and as Kelly also stated on the Stoked Bloke, you're not allowed to leave the birth certificate blank. And so the child has a name on this. The boy has a name
Legally.
on a
Yeah.
legal name on his birth certificate. Uh, that's his legal name. So you already gave him a name. You're gonna legit then have to go through the name changing process, which
Yeah.
is not, I don't think it's very cheap, right? I think it's a couple grand, not that the money matters, but it's
that's
like a
that's going to
hassle.
be the stop point for Kelly.
But it's like a full-on hassle,
It's a
right?
hassle. It's a hassle.
What,
Yeah.
why did you not just, you had 9 months to think of all this, what other people do, Kelly. Know you're special, you're the 11-time world champion. But what other people do is use that pregnancy time to workshop names. Some of them share with friends, some just talk in-house. And then when the baby's born, they have an idea, maybe two or three, get a look at the baby, and that's the baby's name, right? That's when you name it. You don't this waiting is opening up a Pandora's box of who knows what. And you're exactly right in terms of the after the 8 months, it better be amazing. Like when he said that it took them 2 months to name their dog Action, I'm thinking Action's not a bad name for a dog. It's also not a something that should have taken more than 2 minutes to come up with. Like
Right.
you could have had a 5 minute discussion about your Chihuahua and named it Action. Like,
Yeah, totally. The problem is the do you know like that time should have been spent coming up with names the last 9 months? Do you know how much brain power it takes to draw a connection between turtles and moons?
yeah, I mean,
I mean, he was zapped.
yeah,
How do you, I mean, when you come up with a connection that is that profound,
yes,
you need to take a break. You need like
yeah,
6 months off
I guess so. I guess so. And the Turtle
to
Moon,
develop the marketing plan.
the Turtle Moon just dropped too. I mean, right, probably in the middle of pregnancy somewhere, right?
Yeah, so take it easy on the guy, dude.
Yeah, sorry, Kelly. I
Yeah.
forgot. I
Yeah.
forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hey, you've been hard hitting your journalism since you've been back on American soil. I could see the fruits of your labor on beachgrit.com.
Lots of real hard-hitting surf journalism. I lost my surf journalist handle, but not the passion.
Quote, tears of joy in Middle East as World Surf League adds Abu Dhabi to championship tour! Exclamation point. Is this
Ooh.
real fact?
It is fact. The
Really?
2025 World Surf League Championship Tour will have Kelly Slater's Abu Dhabi pool as an event.
Um, well, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, the comments in Beach Grit, hilarious per the usual. We're talking about how in the world the World Surf League was going to attempt to both greenwash and like social wash, whatever, all of this. For those who don't know, United Arab Emirates, it's not, I don't know, it's not Saudi Arabia, it's not Saudi draconian, but it is also not, it's not a welcoming place, let's just say, for the likes of Tyler Wright. We will put it that way. Uh, it's also a petro kingdom. Uh, so the World Surf League is going to fly to Abu Dhabi to surf in a desert in a pool funded by oil money in a country that maybe could be a little more welcoming to certain groups that the World Surf League really prides itself on uh, being supportive of, and they're going to treat like it's insane. It's utterly insane to me. And it is kind of proof in the pudding, for my money, of if you're going to be environmental, then be environmental. If you're going to be really pro LGBTQ, all of it, then really do that. If you're not, then don't mention any of it ever. Nobody
Yeah.
ever said, "Hey, World Surf League, what we expect from you is to be like have a firm environmental, you know, plan of action and stuff that you guys talk about all the time, and da 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 da. And also with social rights, we need those things from you. Nobody asked them that. They were the ones who saw a marketing opportunity, did it, and now they're going to be surfing in Abu Dhabi. And like, I know that hypocrisy and all this is, that's just what our world is these days. But the World Surf League has to be one of the most hypocritical, absurdly ridiculous organizations on the face of the earth.
That's the thing. It's beyond the hypocrisy. It's seeing and marketing opportunities, seeing a way we can make a little bit of money, we can get more eyeballs if we talk about this thing. The wind is blowing this direction. So let's talk about equality and environmentalism right now, because that's the best thing for our financial interests at this moment. But there's a money opportunity over here the next year that completely flies in the face. So we're going to take that opportunity too.
Yep.
So it's just chasing the short-term dollars, like not having an actual missive and an actual core ethos and all of that stuff. So in lieu of any of that, we're just going to kind of go whatever way the wind goes and collect small paychecks and try to cobble it together into a meaningful existence.
But then also assume that our audience is so ignorant and
Right.
stupid that
That's
we can say whatever we want and just spoon it down their throats because they're just slobbering idiots. They won't see any connection between us being all about equality and environmentalists and hosting a CT event in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. Well, Scott Bass told me this week too that KS Waveco at Surf Ranch has put in their bid for the 2028 Olympic location too.
Oh, did he have that on which informations?
Private communications with somebody in the know.
Okay, sweet. Well,
So
that's a good one. Interestingly, thinking about LA 28 and where the surf is going to be, I debate the wife about it a lot because I was pretty sure before this bombshell news here that it was going to be lowers. She said no, that it could not be lowers because of the environmental impact. And I was thinking, but are more people going to go watch Olympic surfing than or finals day? Like Trestles already can host, 10,000 or more than
I mean,
10,000 people going to go watch Olympic surfing?
I don't think it hosts 10,000.
I mean, how many people do you think go to at the biggest one of those finals?
Well, I don't think it matters. I think you can limit the number of people. You just set a head count, right? And then you only
Yeah.
allow that many people
Yeah,
in.
you sell tickets for however 5,000 tickets, and that's the venue is 5,000. But uh yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't see how it's not lowers, to be honest. Like I know Huntington will try, but Huntington's surf is going to be, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Trestles can be
I,
garbage then too.
I mean, I'm going to put money down. We discussed it last week, but I would put money down today saying it will be Lamar.
You think for sure, just because of
It
uh
solves all the problems.
yeah,
Like the things that the TDM that you and I tease apart about why surfing shouldn't be in a pool is completely irrelevant to the organizers of the Olympics and certainly the broadcast partners.
yeah,
So they're just like, God, it was really cool when those waves were good in Tahiti. I wish we could have had those through the whole contest. Is there any way to do that? And it'd be even better if we knew when it was going to run so
yeah.
that we could plan our scheduling like we do with every other sport in our Olympics. So Lamore solves all of those problems for
Yeah, I mean, you are right. And frankly, I mean, JP Curry wrote about it that Olympic surfing might belong in a pool. It's like that's a better, I don't like it. I won't watch it, but I didn't watch any of Tahiti either. I legit saw highlights from the good day, and that was the only Olympic surfing I watched.
Yeah. Yeah, JP Curry is right in that if surfing is going to be the Olympics, maybe it does belong in a pool, but he's wrong. He's ignoring the fact that surfing shouldn't be in the Olympics.
Well,
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
exactly. If it's going to, I think the caveat is if
Yeah.
it's going to be
Yeah,
in, you
totally.
might as well just toss it in the tank. And it's already so Olympic surfing again doesn't belong in the Olympics, so divorced from the Olympics that it doesn't matter if there's a
Exactly.
pool version.
Well, back to your hard-hitting journalism this week on beachgrid.com. Quote, former top Hawaiian pro surfer Conan Hayes, center of Trump election intrigue once again as partner found guilty. This is my favorite story that really nobody's really reporting on, but it's so, I don't know why. I don't know why it's interesting to
It's
me.
because it's ridiculous. Like every part of it, it feels like a what? It feels like a Coen Brothers movie.
It
Uh,
really does.
yeah, like the costumes that he was wearing, like all the reports of it, like the fact that you have Mike Liddell, the My Pillow guy, as the ringleader.
Well,
Uh,
let's unpack the story real quick.
okay,
Conan Hayes, famous professional surfer, B plus level pro surfer. He had a couple of big moments in the
co-founder,
in the
co-founder of
90s.
Ruka.
First co-founder of 17,
Yeah, 17. I remember.
and then co-founder of Ruka alongside Pat Tenori, and then made an exit, I think too early, probably, but made a bunch of money when he exited. Um, and really went into hiding, kind of like we didn't, he was kind of reclusive from that point on. But his name popped up in the news a couple of different times for a couple of different things. I can't even remember what they
It
were.
was one was that he was like he was selling toys in a warehouse and there was some fraud thing going on.
Yeah.
There was a
I,
couple fraudy things
it
going
was
on.
always fraud. The only reason it made the news was because it was criminal.
Yeah.
And so, and then in the LA Times article that was written about that crime, they would reference former from Kona, Hawaii, Big Island of Hawaii, former professional surfer Conan Hayes, blah, blah, blah. The most recent one, though, was in relation to the election scandal with Trump, right? So, what is the story with that, and what is the recent update?
So it's the 2016 election for those who recall back then when Trump did not feel like he lost. And so then all his people, of course, went looking around to find evidence that Democrats had stuffed the ballots or that there was mass voting from Chinese for Biden or whatever. So this
2020, then.
sorry, 2020. Yeah, 2020, not 2016. Apologize. The this particular one, so this was I think she was a county clerk in Colorado. Uh, and Mike Liddell, the pillow dude, was like on the hunt to find bad votes. And so she gave her badge or a badge of a coworker, to Conan Hayes. So Conan Hayes, and I think he dressed up as something. I can't remember what. He dressed up like as a computer repair guy or something like that. And Conan Hayes went and made photocopies of voter records or something, or the whatever it was. Uh, and then so yeah, she clerk just got found guilty of whatever it was, uh, crimes.
So, is he being uh, indicted on this with a charge as well?
I don't think he is because
Okay. He's
I
just
think
an associate with,
yeah, I think
he was
what
implicated in the crime, but they're not charging him.
yeah, I mean, or maybe he's going to get charged.
Okay.
Like all of these still could be coming, but I can't imagine that, you're, I mean, I guess unless they're going to I have no idea. I have no idea what the charges would be for photocopying election records.
I I guess why this story continues to be compelling to me is of all the quote former pro surfers who then went on to have a career after professional surfing, his career path is the most interesting of all of them.
By far and away, nobody even comes close to Conan Hayes.
Joey Baran becoming a pastor, that's interesting. And the breakdancing stuff that he does, or he's not breakdancing, but freestyle hip hop dancing that he does on Instagram is incredible. Not nearly as interesting as Conan Hayes.
Yeah, it's totally true. But the weird thing about it is, and maybe it's a niche, because it's fascinating to me too. The whole story, anytime it comes up, it's like, God, it's the first thing I want to write about. But it never feels like it really catches traction. Like amongst the,
It's too nuanced.
yeah, that's what it is. There's too many, but like it's not that nuanced. I mean, it's just taking the characters alone, it's hilarious. You have Donald Trump at the top, you have My Pillow Mike Liddell below him, and then you have Conan Hayes as a operative for Mike Liddell, who's working, like just it seems like it's a real straight line of genuine comedy. It's
It's
like what went
truly a
wrong?
Cohen Brothers movie.
Yeah.
That is such a great analogy.
I mean, like it's wacky, it's funny. The people are, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I love it, but people don't seem like they care so much.
Do you have a favorite Cohen Brothers movie?
Um, it's a hard one. I really like Oh Brother. Uh, of course, Big Lebowski. Big Lebowski's probably got to be my fave.
Raising Arizona?
I love Raising Arizona. Raising Arizona, it's really hard. Picking a favorite, Coen Brothers movie is like picking Kelly Slater's son's name.
No Country for Old Men.
Yeah. I didn't love No Country as much.
You got to rewatch it.
Okay, I will.
I've rewatched that every couple of years. It just gets better every time I watch it. Um, Big Lebowski, I rewatched
Yeah,
recently. Again, every 5 years or so.
it
It's
totally
phenomenal.
holds.
It's
Ra
so good.
Raising Arizona holds. They all hold because
So good.
it's the quirky characters, right?
Yeah. And they're all distinctly different. Like we were talking about Woody Allen last week. There's his tone is always the same. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, with mid what is it, Midnight in Paris? Yeah, Midnight in
Yes.
Paris is kind of different than everything else, but every other film is almost the same. Coen Brothers, they're so distinctly different. Like
Yep.
Hail Caesar is a total anomaly. There's one called The Simple Man. Did you ever
Yeah.
see that?
Yep. Simple Man is real slow and calm, yeah.
Yeah, but
It's like
still
it's
really good,
really good, but you're exactly right. It's not wacky and zany.
No. So I'm a huge fan.
Is it one of them? One of them is like, I can't remember, is in an open relationship with his wife and a trans person or something?
Are you talking about A Simple Man or a different?
No, one of the Coen brothers is
In an
like
open relationship?
that his partner is trans and there's also somebody else involved in the relationship.
I don't remember that one.
I mean, it's not a movie, it's his life.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah. Yeah.
know.
Yeah. That's one of the Coen brothers has like a very complicated marital situation.
Wow. So no, I know nothing
Let's
about
see.
their personal lives, to be honest. Strangely, I know zero about them. But I was on YouTube the other day, this week, and a Nikki Glazer recommended video popped up on the side. And the title of it was like Nikki Glazer encourages her boyfriend to sleep with other women. I was like, that's just got to be a joke or like a
Yeah.
salacious clickbait thing. So I click it and I watch it. No, it's not even salacious. It is. She's just like, yeah, we've been together 10 years. She's like, I don't want to sleep with other guys, but I understand that guys have a need to plant their seed, and like, I don't want to stop him from doing that, and so I'm okay
Wow.
with it. She's like, I don't feel jealous at all. Like, I just want to make sure he's happy, and like he comes home to me, and I was like, wow,
Whoa.
Nikki Glazer
Nikki
didn't see
Glaser,
that coming.
not at all. Strange behaviors.
I know. Well, it's strange to you and I. I mean, when you say the Coen brothers dude has a
Maybe, and
complicated,
maybe I'm
I'm like,
totally
maybe it's
wrong
not
now.
complicated for him. Maybe it's not complicated at all. Maybe it's totally, you know, here's what I want. Here's what my partner is okay with. And that is not complicated at all. We communicated effectively. Certainly not for me,
Yeah,
but
I gotta figure this out. It might not even be them. It might have been another actor or directing, but I swear it was them. We'll get to the
mm,
bottom.
okay. Yeah.
So,
More will be revealed. Moving on, the US Open also ended since we last spoke. Mexico, two surfers who live in Mexico. One identifies as French, originally from France, but they're both from Mexico. Al Cleland Jr. being a Mexican national wins the event, the first Mexican to ever win the US Open. My thoughts after watching that was, why doesn't Mexico take over the world in surfing? Like in the way that we had the Brazilian storm, Mexico has far superior waves to Brazil. I
far
think
superior.
I think that is just a statement of fact.
Yeah.
And incredibly talented surfers win. Or are we seeing the first signs of a come up for Mexico?
Mexico. That's a great question. Part of me wonders if Mexicans are smarter than everyone else, though, and saying, guess what? Don't eat it. Don't, we have all these waves. We have all this delicious food. We have all of this perfection down here. Why do we need to both blow it up on the world scene by producing a bunch of pros? Why go anywhere else? I want to just serve Punta Conejo, man. That's cool with me. I want to eat tacos, drink beer, and serve Punta Conejo. Life done. How are you going to get better than that?
You're onto something. I was not going to ascribe it to smarts, but you might entirely be right. I was going to ascribe it to a contentment. Um, like I remember learning in sociology class, I think. Maybe I've even said this on the podcast now that I think about it, but it was a sociology class in college, and they were like, if you look at all of the productivity over the course of humanity, whether it was pre-industrial revolution or into the industrial revolution, where you look at the arts, you look at the Renaissance movement, you look at the modern technology revolution. Everything happens within a certain band of latitude around the globe. So I don't remember the exact latitudes, but it was something around like 22 degrees north and 22 degrees south on the southern side, up to 38 or 39 degrees, like 28 to or 22 to 38 or 39 or something like that. Basically, when you're closer to the equator, it's too warm and you can't work very hard because you're exhausted, and it zaps your creativity. It zaps your ambition, your desire, your drive. And when you're too cold, same thing. And you're also limited by the number of hours that you could spend outside when you're in the dark and the cold. So in certain temperate environments, that's where you can kind of put in a 40-hour plus work week and you have all this, your initial kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your initial needs are all sated. And so you don't have to stress out about being warm or cold or whatever it is. You can just kind of, all that stuff's covered. You can focus on work. So all the great books, all the great poetry, all the great art, all the great food, all the great, not necessarily food, but um, in, industrial advancements, technology, you get the point.
And also though, the people grinding that grind, the people working that work, 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours. Guess what? The light at the end of the tunnel is a trip to Mexico. And so,
Exactly. Yeah.
and
To go
so,
try to do what they've already figured
and
out.
so all the Mexicans, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they're down there thinking, we we could produce a crop of next level talent in surfing. What does that do for us? What does that get us? It gets us maybe more people down here to surf, which that's not cool. It gets what? Mexico as a surfing powerhouse? Who needs that? What is a surfing powerhouse? Has United States or Australia or Brazil gotten any bounce in any meaningful way from being recognized as surfing powerhouses? Nope, and nope, and nope. So sit back, drink a margarita, and surf.
I'm going to delete the sentence where I said I wasn't going to ascribe it to smarts. That sounds pretty pejorative, pretty mean. That's not what I meant by it, but um, I've never met a happier people. To be honest, like I've traveled, I don't know how many countries I've been to, 22 maybe. Um, Mexicans are the happiest amongst anybody that I've ever encountered, like to a person.
I mean,
So they definitely have it figured out.
life truly rules in Mexico. Not only do
Yeah.
you have like epic kind of, colonial architecture and all that, you have a burgeoning art scene. You have some of, if not the most amazing food on earth, or like a developed cuisine that's phenomenal. You have, I mean, mountains, ocean. You have got everything in Mexico. It's
It's
like, yeah.
totally. So what's interesting though is as it relates to this conversation about who's going to take over the competitive surfing world, the two surfers that made the final, one of them is actually from France, and the other one, Al Cleland Jr., his dad's from San Diego.
Yeah.
So he was born in Mexico, but I'm wondering if some of that, drive and desire from those latitudes that I'm talking about was infused into their birth. And then they happen to be living the benefit of living in Mexico and the access to great waves and all that sort of stuff. But their drive and desire has not been zapped by the leisure and access to comforts that they have in Mexico.
Well, and their parents too instilled in them the
Maybe.
the work ethic, the whatever,
Or
rise and
just the
grind.
dogged drive.
Yeah. I mean, especially that for an Al Cleland Jr. to go win the US Open. Like, not only is the US Open just a doggy event that you have to get through
Yeah.
you have to mow through people in bad surf, right? Well, he has to do that a lot around the world, even to get invited to the US Open. And now I think has he qualified, or is
He's
he's
in,
close to qualifying?
so top 10 qualify. He's in ninth position. He came up, I think, 42 spots by winning this, but there's two events left, and you can easily drop 42 spots in those two events, and somebody
Yeah.
else can move up 100 spots. So
He's got a shot, but he's got to do it.
he's got some work left.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. In terms of being the doggiest of events, we talked about it because it was like opening day or second day when we last recorded. And I was like, it's a bloodletting. You look at the list of surfers and I mentioned Taro Watanabe, but it was Chloe Andino and Cole Houshman and like all these world tour level surfers who just get eviscerated on day one,
Yeah.
evaporated, like they're just gone. They went out there, they tried their best. Too bad. There's too many variables.
Yeah.
You don't make it. And it was funny watching Kaloe. I thought Kaloe looked good for a win. He actually made it, I think, to the quarters, maybe the round of 16. And he was looking so grindy, just tenacious and grindy. And he lost to Jackson Bunch from Oahu. Jackson, Kaloe doing the grindy thing, getting scores on the board like all over the place. And Jackson just waited and he happened to get two waves that he needed. And he got the two scores that were better than Kaloe's two. And I was like, man, I thought Kalohe was taking the right approach because the waves are small and they're grindy. Like that is exactly how you're going to win this event. What do I know? I know nothing. You know what I mean? Like that is what the US Open is.
I mean, that's the thing though. Nobody knows anything about the US Open. Like they're very, very easily those two waves could not have come to Jackson. And then you look like a fool waiting for a good wave at a place that doesn't produce good waves, right? Like
As happened in 50% of the other heats.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the US Open as a concept, I mean, I love it, I guess, that it is funny. Like riots happen there and it's, has a historical, from the OP Pro days to whatever. Like I don't want the US Open to go away, but my goodness, is it unwatchable.
It really is. Yeah. Well, that leads us to the pros and the wild call, or we can also do matchmaking with Subaru Jen. Which
Let's
would you prefer to hear first?
let's matchmake and then get into the pros.
Okay, I thought you were going to guess or want that. So Subaru Jen back in our lives after a couple of week hiatus. She originally wrote in asking for advice for how to make an outward message be known that she is not a lesbian despite driving a Subaru. Should she put a sticker on her car? She's single. She's in her mid 30s. She wants to date dudes, but
She
it
drives a
all
suit.
the problem is she drives a Sub and she's worried that's giving off the wrong message. So I said, look, we can potentially do matchmaking for you. Um, I emailed her back and I'm like, hey, can we make this happen? And it was dead silence for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
She has since emailed me back.
What did
She
she
was on,
say?
she was on family vacation, apologized for the delay. I was like, look, I'm already getting submissions from dudes. They're sending in their resume. And so I've got a list of bachelors here for you. I need to know your location. I need to know some pertinent details. And she sent me a reply email with some basics. I'll read them to you now, but the ball is still in her court. I replied to this email with these basics and I said, um, I think personally that we should photos need to be included with these submissions. Social media profile needs to be included. You want to have as much information about these dudes before you go on a date with them. I can collect all that information, but I also should get some pertinent information from you, Jen, that I can then share with those people if they make it to phase two. So I'm
Yes.
waiting to hear back from her on kind of what her deal breakers are, what she wants to see from these guys, and we'll go from there. But I'm going to read you the outline that Jen provided about herself. She says, quote, I'm a 37-year-old woman located in Santa Monica. I have a master's degree, work in the health industry, but my passions are surfing, the environment, billiards, camping, LOL, fine wine, good food, outdoor activities, soccer, different cultures, cities, among others. My type is educated, athletic, adventurous, funny. Surfer plus waterman is a plus. Seaweed farmers get to the front of the line.
Seaweed farmers.
Get to the front of the line pass. Seaweed farmers get to the front of the line pass.
Get a front of the line
Oh,
pass. They get a
get a
pass to
front of
get
the
to the
line
front.
pass.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Seaweed farmers. I was so shocked by that. Why? That's such a specific thing.
I wonder if when I hear seaweed farmer, I think of like a Keith Malloy. Does she want like a rugged man of the sea?
I don't know.
I
More
mean,
will be revealed. Jen,
what do
chime in
you
on what's a
yeah, what do
sea.
you seaweed farm?
I never even considered a seaweed farming as a profession.
I
I
feel
thought
that
it
a lot of
collected
seaweed
itself.
farming is done in Japan. Does she want a Japanese man?
Maybe that's what she meant.
Yeah.
Give me a Japanese looking Keith Malloy.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Those exist.
For sure. Okay, so that's the basic outline sketch of Jen. If that appeals to anybody who lives in the Santa Monica area, that's going to be the most important detail here, I feel. Proximity.
I feel though, like be willing, like I'd say the greater Los Angeles area. Like if you got to be willing to, of course, as the bachelor, to drive up to do the work.
Oh, totally.
But if you feel like, hey man, I live in Long Beach and Santa Monica's not that far away, I'm totally willing to do the, hour and a half commute a couple times.
Completely. Yeah. Like there's a 40 might be a bit of a stretch. You can decide how far you want to drive for the relationship, but keep in mind she's in Santa Monica.
Yeah, that's all you need to know.
Yeah. Well, when we first set out this idea, I got a message that week from one listener. I'm going to read his message to you right here because I feel like we might have hit a grand slam
Out of the
before this
gate.
thing right out of the gate. I mean,
Yeah,
like our track record on a lot of this stuff's pretty good, but this might be the most impressive match ever. He
lay it
said,
on.
he said, David, I'm ready to enroll in your grit matchmaking program. I'm 34 years old. So
Younger
right
man.
there, it's only three years apart.
Yep.
Grew up in Redondo Beach,
Close.
proximity. And I've been living in New England for the past 7 years. So that's a little bit of a problem, but maybe not a stop point. I just finished my PhD in mechanical engineering at MIT. Looking forward to moving back to California in coming weeks. Sorry, I forgot about that part. I have perhaps selfishly prioritized my education slash professional ambitions the last few years, and I'm ready to invest time and energy into building a relationship. I like to think of myself as a dork, but a coolish dork with a reasonable high social IQ for an engineer. I take myself seriously, but not too seriously. I don't think I have a quote type, but I do tend to gravitate towards slimmer, athletic girls who are curious, silly, and passionate about something, anything. As I've gotten older, I find I have less and less patience for the I drink and take selfies on the beach all day, San Diego bombshell archetype. I hereby subject myself to you and any blah, blah, blah goes on. But
I mean, if I was Jen and I heard mechanical engineer from MIT,
PhD,
I would be done. That dude is going to be pulling seven figures soon, probably. I mean, this dude, MIT, mechanical engineer, PhD, done, dusted, sign me up, right?
agreed.
Like that
even
should,
even even when you just read somebody's the way that they write, I think kind of indicates whether or not your sensibility will relate to theirs. And by reading both of their things, I'm like, that feels like a match to me. Like the details match, but also the tone and the sensibility
tone,
matches. So
tonality.
so look, I don't want to intimidate any of the other dudes who live in the Santa Monica area who were thinking of submitting their application. However, this dude whose thing I just read, he's got first. The other thing is he had the ambition to reach out to me before he knew anything about Jen.
I mean, epic, epic. But also, I know there's a dude in Santa Monica adjacency who's listening and saying, yeah, I like a challenge though. I see your PhD from MIT and mechanical engineering and raise you my dog walking business or whatever. Like, it's competitive. Competition's fun.
Throw your hat in the ring. Give Jen something to think about.
Yep. Boom. Subaru Jen.
So I'm waiting to hear back from Subaru Jen with her exact, um, mainly stop points. Like, what are
Yeah.
your deal breakers? Smoking, kids from a previous relationship, divorce, lives with their parents. Who knows what it is? All I do know is I had a little PTSD going through this process, like remembering what it was like to be single and like reading her things. You trying to be specific on a dating app or in the dating world with what your interests are ends up sounding exactly like everybody else
Yeah.
because you're like I'm sincerely into food and
Food
wine.
and wine.
So is everybody else. You know what I mean? They're like 9 out of 10. I'm seriously,
The second you say it,
I
it just
know
becomes a giant cliche.
it really does. And so reading her thing, it's like, oh, she's painting this like very detailed picture of who she is. And then I take a step back and I'm like,
You like to travel. Okay.
exactly. You like fun things? Huh. Me too. So does everybody. So it really does feel that's the level of kind of I don't know what that you feel when you're dating is like the level of yeah, I don't know what the word is.
I mean the trouble too, I mean I haven't dated forever, but the I feel like Kelly and his name, son's name, I suppose. At some level, like you don't know what it is you're looking for. It just hits you.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have scripted it out, right? Like the things about your partner or who you've not partner, never partner, the things about the person you fell in love with, uh, I don't know that you could go back and say, yep, it's exactly what I would have put on my list of things I wanted.
No, I agree with you entirely. And the other thing that I would say just for Jen or anybody else who's dating is like it's so easy to get discouraged like by feeling these like putting yourself out there and then getting kind of slapped down or people not acknowledging maybe what you feel is a good quality in you. You just get discouraged. And that discouragement, you then wear it and it actually stinks, you know? And so then you might meet somebody who could be a potentially perfect candidate, but they sniffed that depression on you.
Yes.
And it's like, and it's like you could smell it a mile away, or
Yeah.
you get defensive. You then
Yeah.
put up some blockades and you're just like, these 100 other dudes who just wrote me off despite me being a great person, I am not going to be nice to the next person. You
Yeah.
know, I'm going to keep up a little bit. And so then that starts to perpetuate that cycle of stink and depression starts to perpetuate. And so the ultimate advice is chin up, thick skin. Like you're going to take a beating. Even the best, the MIT'd, PhD'd, model, good looking girl or guy is going to get slapped around a bunch. And so you just keep your chin up, keep a thick skin, smile, maintain the positivity, move on to the next.
Yep. Good advice.
All right. Um, Update from last week, Weekend Vans giveaway. Weekend Vans
You got someone?
three-nighter. Yes.
Boom.
Mike at Weekend Vans texted me last night with a little spinning wheel of names that you can do on the internet. You submit a bunch of names into this thing, you click the wheel, it spins and spits out one random winner. Random winner, Dr. Bill Rosenblatt in New Jersey.
Dr. Bill. Is
Doc,
Dr. Bill going to come out and get his weekend van?
it's a great question. Dr. Bill, it's available to you. I presume Mike has already emailed you to let you know that you are the winner. But if I actually asked Mike that, I was like, what if he doesn't come to collect? Mike said he'll pick a second winner.
Okay, great. Do you feel after how long have we been on the air today? An hour and 15 minutes. Do you
Yep.
feel, uh, looking back on our conversation thus far, um, happy that so far we at least have a PhD from MIT listening to us jibber jabber, and also a doctor in in New Jersey. There is doctors listening to you and I really
It's
tease apart the finer things.
it really makes me want to take more seriously my commentary. Don't I mean I really truly but then I realized my secondary thought is nope, just charge ahead. Like
I mean,
it's so easy to overthink.
I feel the doctors are listening precisely because we are retarded. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to say that. Dang it. We're going to take out Mexicans aren't smart. And we're going
I
to
didn't say Mexicans aren't
take,
smart. That is definitely the way it would be interpreted by the greater internet, but you should not interpret it that way.
but also the R word has to come out now.
Okay. Let me make a mark. 1 hour and 15 minutes in. Edit.
It doesn't have to come out. It's okay. I know
Okay.
I'll get the heat, but
But
I
yeah,
didn't mean that.
I am constant.
I meant retarded as in slow, as in
Oh, we know exactly how you meant it. That's how you're not supposed to use it, is the point. Um, I am amazed. Yes, I will. Somebody will send me an email, right? And then I'll reply. And then maybe I didn't recognize what the bottom sign off of their email was, where it states the college that they work for and the classes that they teach or whatever it
yeah.
is. And then I'll see it on the second go round. I'm like,
Oh,
man, why am I constantly the dumbest person in the room?
yeah. Well, I mean, there's the old saying, when you find yourself the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Time to find a new room.
Yep. So we got a good room here. I
I
don't
guess
think I'll
so.
ever be leaving this room.
I guess so. You know what though? It's fun to surround yourself like the reason why my wife watches a Bravo, you know, the aforementioned Vanderpump Rules or whatever it was, is to point fun to
Yeah,
feel better about yourself. Like
totally.
I've worked too hard today. I've used my brain too much. I'm gonna sit here, point, and laugh.
Yep, exactly. Which is, I mean, I think our particular grit community, though, there's twofold, right? There's a pointing and a laughing. And then these doctors saying, okay, when things get dangerous, when our stupidity gets dangerous, then there's the gentle correction. There's the email to the
Yeah,
community
true.
that comes in where they can share, okay, it's all funny until these two said this. And in actuality, this.
Right. Thank you. I agree with that. And we have just enough smarts to take gentle correction.
Yes, just barely enough, but just enough.
Um, so we've done our full amount of time today where we could, in actuality, do barrel or non clock off, or do you want to do a pros in the wild and go into overtime?
Let's go OT if you can handle some OT.
I got OT time in me. Okay, let's go open the listener line, share the sound, turn my volume on. Sorry about those text messages that came through earlier in the show.
I didn't hear him.
Oh, okay, good. Never know if they get picked up or not. Okay, TR in the DR with the pros in the wild.
DLS and Chaz. TR in the DR. How are you guys? So I got a pros in the wild for you. Plural because there's a few pros in this one. But it was the G-Land contest in, I believe, 96. And it was the top 24 surfers or whatever the number was. Quicksilver staff, which I was a part of, and the judges and WSL staff. So there was no one else in the camp. It was an incredible contest. My buddy Chris Gallagher got a couple perfect tens. My buddy Shane Beshin won the event. And there was a group of legends there. Wayne Lynch, Mark Warren, Tom Carroll. You go down the line, Quicksilver invited all these amazing legends. And after the event, all the pro surfers left, except for Kong and Matt Hoy and about 3 or 4 other guys, Aki, my good buddy Chris Gallagher, and Jimmy Banks. And Banksy said to me, "Hey mate, you've been working so hard. Why don't you come for a surf with us? Do you surf?" And I said, "Heck yeah, I surf." And he goes into his quiver and he pulled out the biggest board. It was like almost like a fun board looking thing with like a platypus nose. It was like a 7-foot something board. He probably thought that I just wanted to be safe. He didn't know my surfing ability. So we paddle out and it is just going off like 6 to 8 feet speed reef. And I'm just so excited. And the perfect waves coming my way. I'm in the perfect position. I take off and look over, and Lane Beachley looks me right in the face and completely stuffs me. Almost lands on top of me as she late drops into this thing, does a big square bottom turn, have to straighten out, jump off the board, get dragged over the reef, get completely worked, paddle back out. Had a really good session and a few good days, but my pro in the wild story is about Lane Beachley. Never forgot that. Never was a fan after that. And hope you guys are having a good one. Work.
Funny how quickly somebody can fall out of your good graces for the rest of your life. One burn.
I mean, absolutely. It's so, I mean, it is funny, like how opinion change instantly after a burn. That one though, I thought TR on the DR might have been going to like that he was a fan, that it was so egregious and arrogant. Because sometimes that will cross too, right? Where somebody
Yeah.
does it so blatantly that you can only respect them afterwards. You can only say, you had so little care for me that I doff my cap.
I mean, look, if it's Gabriel Medina or Billy Kemper or whatever, you're not going to feel that way. But if it's Lane Beachley and you're like, look, she's already like a second class citizen in the eyes of all these other pro male surfers who are here trying to dominate the lineup. So she sees an opportunity where I'm a third class citizen.
Yeah,
And so she's
exactly.
going to like pull rank on me. Then maybe you give Lane Beachley, and I don't know, she'd probably won a couple world titles at that point. Maybe not. But
96.
1996 was the event. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't
God.
remember when she probably
It
had
was
one.
right around the peak of her prime though, right?
Yeah.
So, but so maybe you give her a pass. But the other problem here is Tony Roberts is a filmer. And so he's been working hard for weeks, standing in the sun, equatorial sun on a reef,
Zapped.
suffering. And that is where Lane had her ultimate folly, is like, in the world of surfing, there's a couple of like laborer professions that get free beer and free access anywhere they go. Shapers, laminators, sanders, you know, fin setters, anybody in the board manufacturing side of things, filmers, photographers, carte blanche on set waves,
You're
especially after an event.
you're exactly right. And that's where if Lane had not recognized TR and the DR like as working the event, then that also is a faux pas, as they say in France. Because you gotta recognize the people who are there grinding it out, right? Like if you're just looking over the little people, she should have well known TR and the DR had been there grinding.
Jim Banks understood. Jim Banks recognized his hard work and gave him a board out of the quiver.
Yeah, Lane, shame
Yeah.
on you, Lane Beachley.
And the other thing is, I reached out to Lane a couple of times over the years for podcast interviews via DM, via her website. Never heard a word back.
Lane, boo. Isn't Lane Beachley married to a rich Australian dude?
She's married to some dude who looks pretty cool. I don't know what he does or who he is.
I thought he was rich. Maybe he's a transvestite that's in an open relationship with one of the Coen brothers.
All right, make another mental note of what to delete out of this episode. The other thing that I love, or that I remember that event, right? Like, I remember Quicksilver made a film about that event.
Yeah, I remember the film.
It was even called the Quicksilver Pro G-Land or something really simple like that. But this is something that could be replicated in the modern era. Event recap short films. The drama is baked into the storyline, where it's this broad opening of this many surfers, and it all comes down to one final surfer,
Yep.
right? That's compelling enough. But if you then get behind the scenes stuff like Peter King used to do with tour notes, and then you also get the free surfs and you identify like this guy's the best surfer clearly in the free surf, all of that is fascinating. And, we talk about events being a week long and it's just way too cumbersome. And then you disengage with it. And then the event recap videos that WSL puts out in 3 minutes, here's a highlight reel. That's also not really doing the event justice.
Yeah.
But we figured out through the VHS format that I would look forward to that so much, where it was just the event distilled into a 40-minute thing. If the WSL took the time to just edit that footage, they're already collecting the footage. If they just took the time to edit it together into a narrative arc and put it on YouTube, I feel like that would be that would generate 500,000 views easily every time.
I mean, isn't that essentially what Make or Break was trying to do, though?
Wrong format.
Yeah.
Format and wrong editing and producers.
I mean, you need it like I think Make or Break is wonderful at or the team behind Box to Box, whatever. They're wonderful at what that kind of storytelling. You don't need to be that crazy in this one, though. You need like a narrator's voice. I feel it's a simple 30-minute package of you narrate it. But I'd want like a voice with gravitas. It couldn't be Joe Turpel or anything. It'd have to be like a good National Geographic style voice, right? That walks you through to the end, out.
Devin Howard.
Yeah, Dev would be great. Would be great.
So there's a need for this. They already have the raw materials. The only thing that needs to be sorted out is the creative. And that's pretty easy to sort out because it's already been done in the past.
The narrative,
a lot of times.
Well, and you're not creating a narrative. The narrative has been set, whatever the narrative of that event was. Somebody gets hurt. Somebody, there's an interference. There's drama.
It's baked in.
That's baked in.
The other detail that they need is good waves. So they have to run events in good waves. That's the other thing, because doing this with the US Open that we recently watched is just awful. Who cares,
Unwatchable.
Yeah. So do it with good waves like the G-Land event. Okay, well, let's go to commercial break and we will be back with Barrel or Nah. Rocketmoney.com/surf. Just this week, my wife figured out she was paying a subscription for Showtime, but then also paying for Paramount Plus, which includes Showtime for free. That's precisely what Rocket Money was designed for. A modern tool that meticulously tracks the details that we easily get distracted from. It's a finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your monthly spending, and helps you lower your bills. It gives you freedom by helping you see your subscriptions in a simple dashboard and alerts you about hidden fees or increases. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things that you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/surf. Calm the clutter in your head, simplify the tedium of your financial life, and find freedom through rocketmoney.com/surf. Chaz, we're back, barrel or not. We got a bunch of feedback about merging from last week's barrel or not conversation.
I can't believe it.
I know. People sent me research papers that have been written. This has been thoroughly studied, and turns out the science is in, and it confirms what you and I were talking about.
Slam fast.
Use both lanes to merge. Don't hit the brakes. Accelerate into the zipper.
Yes. Boom.
Accelerate into the zipper. This also means the lane that is the slow lane on the freeway that cars are going to be merging into, freaking don't hit the brakes. When there's that zipper coming in, just keep going.
Yeah.
Hit the accelerator. Merge into the zipper. There's no need to brake for anybody.
Nobody needs to brake. Nobody needs to brake.
Ever.
Yep.
Ever. I've often thought this. I'm sitting in gridlock traffic on the freeway and I go, what would happen if we just all push the accelerator at the same rate? We'd all move forward.
Everyone would be perfect.
I'm not going to crash into him because he just hit the accelerator. The guy behind me won't crash into me because he hit the accelerator. Of course, this assumes that all cars accelerate at the same pace, but just in theory, we don't need to be stopped right now. Everybody step on the gas and we will all move in unison.
Coming down to San Diego from anybody who lives in Southern California knows, coming down to San Diego from LA-ish, or I guess anywhere north of Camp Pendleton on a Friday, you will hit such a jam. Usually, especially in the summer, it'll be the entire, it'll be 30 miles of gridlock. And you finally get to the point where you're realizing what caused all that gridlock, and it's nothing. It is legit another freeway coming on, but there's not that many cars. I mean, it's another small freeway. And so it just becomes such an absolute gutted nightmare from people slowing down to both get on and get off of something unnecessarily. They didn't need to.
And it's not just Friday. That gridlock from Pendleton through Oceanside is every day of the week, almost all hours of the day at this point.
It is so insane. Like here's the time for the old man portion of the show. But the amount of when you and I were young men, before we became old men, was there like 5 billion people on Earth or something? 4 billion maybe?
When I grew up, I feel like it was 3.
Yeah, it could have been something. It was low. Yeah. And now like the 7, you really feel that 7 billion people. They're driving to San Diego.
Totally. It's because San Diego is pretty great.
Oh,
one other feedback call that I want to play for you came in from a couple of weeks back, but you will remember it. Here we go.
Chaz and David Lee Scales, this is Christopher J. Itzen from undisclosed Southern California location, calling in about your last barrel or not, that shark ban. I have never thought of anything so silly until now, but I grew up surfing all over Southern California. I taught surf lessons for several years, and at a local break that has the most concentrated amount of stingrays in the world, I'm told. I got stung 7 times while teaching. By the way, your whole pissing idea is insane unless your piss was like 105 degrees. That's not a thing. I quit teaching surf lessons in 2008, but in 2016, I paddled out for the first time in 3 months after my wife had our daughter. Epic little glassy day, uncrowded, having a great time, and I got nailed. It was insanely painful this time, bled like crazy, and just drove straight home, stuck it under the faucet, just as usual. I've become an expert at treating stingray stings, got it down to where it really didn't hurt that bad, but it still kind of stung for some reason, which is not normal. And then 2 days later, I had to drive to Pasadena for a licensing test for my job. I had to use a cane. I was in so much pain. I couldn't cancel the test, took the test, failed it miserably because I was completely out of it. Ended up driving straight to the ER after taking the test, threw up out the window on the freeway. I had 103 temperature, barely made it into the ER from the infection. I spent the next 3 weeks with a swollen foot, taking large amounts of antibiotics and painkillers. I am now so terrified that I start paddling in the most shallow water immediately, like a total dork when I paddle out. But after your episode, I'm seriously considering purchasing one of those vans. One, for the peace of mind, and two, for the possible free drink at the bar. Keep work, gents.
Stingrays are gnarly.
Stingrays are so gnarly. And to me, I mean, what does the shark bands cost?
$100.
$100. In the off chance it works, I mean, it's like a total what? It's a lose $100, but it's a win-win otherwise. I mean, I guess if you buy it and it doesn't work, then your biases were confirmed. If you buy it and it works, well, then there you go.
Even if it only works 50%, like if it scares 50% of stingrays away, that's good enough for me. I want to improve my percentages. And I am in the same boat as him, where it's like when I'm surfing in the summertime here in Southern California, I get into shin deep water.
Oh yeah, I'll start paddling.
And I can still, basically the point that I start paddling at is when I can't quite see the ground in front of me, because I'm looking down and I'm shuffling. And then the moment it's kind of a little too deep or a little too murky, boom, onto my board and I'm paddling just with my fingertips. You know, because if I go full stroke, I'll hit the bottom with my hand. I'm just going fingertip paddle. And then a wave comes. I'm like, I got to duck dive in like 8 inches of water. And so I just kind of like put my head down under it. Because it stays with you, man. When you've been stung once, it's brutal.
Potential stingray sting scares me way more than a potential shark bite. I mean, I know that a shark bite is way rarer, but yeah, it's something I don't even think about at all. Stingray sting, I think about all the time.
Yep, totally. Okay, barrel or nah number 1 for this week. Toilet papering someone's house.
Ooh, I'm gonna say barrel. I'm gonna say, yeah, this was as a kid, I did it a bunch and it was super fun. I haven't seen a teepeed house for a long while.
Because I think it's really, first of all, TP got crazy, not expensive, but it was a hot commodity. It got crazy scarce there a few years back. And so I think nobody was willing to part with it at that point. But I also think I'm going no barrel. And I think the reason why is, have you ever had to clean it out of the trees in front of your house?
Yeah,
the lawn?
That's what makes it such a funny prank, because it's not just looks funny, it's a pain to clean up, but not the worst pain ever. But it does take like a good hour to 2 hours to clean up some teep.
If somebody has watered, like let's say it misted the night that it got TP'd, or somebody even hosed it down with a, hold on, shoot, I accidentally clicked something. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, if somebody had watered it with a hose after they TP'd it and it like breaks down, the TP actually disintegrates into your lawn or your trees, it is never going away. It is a complete nightmare and an environmental hazard at that point. You know what I mean? So I am going, not that funny, first of all, completely not original. And somebody would have had to have like slashed my car tires for me to think that this was an equal retribution.
Except for, so here, like if you egg somebody's house, right? Like the compounds in the egg can actually, whatever, fade the paint, right? We make like that toilet paper, nothing bad is going to happen. It's going to disintegrate in the yard. You're going to have to rake for a while and it's going to be, but it's just the right amount. I think TPing somebody's house is just the right amount malicious without going over the line to be actual damaging. You're taking some of their time away in the cleanup. But there's no permanent damage. All fine and good.
All right, we're going to remain divided on this one. I can't imagine an enemy that I've loathed so much that I would TP their house.
What about Ricardo Toledo's?
That's your enemy. Not mine. Okay. Probably our most prolific contributor of all time, James in San Diego.
Chaz, David, James calling in for the grit. Got a barrel or nah, and that is putting multiple produce inside one of the small plastic bags that they have in the produce area. So, should I just have all my avocados in one bag and my peppers in the other bag, or can I put them both in the same bag and conserve on plastic? I appreciate your input. Cheers.
Grocery store etiquette has also become one of the most popular topics.
And I have the answer here. entirely and perfectly. Unless absolutely necessary, don't use any of the plastic bags, full stop. Like you put your
Boom.
naked
Boom.
produce in your cart, unless you're getting a handful of something, right? Like, for example, beans or peas or whatever, right? Where you can't just put a loose handful in your cart. They have to be in something. So the only thing you use the plastic bag for is something that's not self-contained. So the example of an avocado doesn't need to go in a bag. Strawberries don't
Definitely.
need to go in bags. I mean, if it's in the thing, nothing needs to go into a bag except for like, again, peas and beans and things like that.
Like you get a dozen limes, those get a
Yeah.
little unwieldy in your basket without a
Yes.
bag. So I'd put a dozen limes in a bag. But I agree with you. For years and years, I came to this conclusion long ago where it was like this couple of apples, they don't need to be in a bag.
No,
An eggplant, I don't know, a couple. I don't buy jalapenos more than two or three at a time. They don't need to be in a bag together. It can
nothing needs to be
handle
in a bag.
very, very few things need to be in a
Yeah.
bag. And again, environmental nightmare to have that many bags that are going to go from, into waste. Um,
And what are you worried?
and
I wonder, are they worried about the cleanliness? Do they want to take
I,
their avocado and then put it in a plastic bag to make sure that it doesn't become tainted by stuff?
so the avocado has a shell on it that you're going to
Yeah.
dispose of. I think they're more worried about things like an apple, let's say. But that's a stupid worry because the apple's out here exposed. It traveled here, it was exposed. It's sitting in the grocery store exposed. You're going to take it out of the bag, it's going to be exposed in your house. You know what I mean? So
I mean, and once you grab that apple too, all you're exposing that apple to is you and your stuff. You're exposing it to the
exactly.
other food you're going to eat. You're exposing it to your car, and then you're covered at home.
Yeah. So the 1% of the apple's life that is you putting it into a bag and that bag making it into your house is not protecting it from anything at all.
Exactly.
So so
No
do
bag.
not use those produce bags unless you're trying to contain something unwieldy.
Exactly.
A handful of beans, as Chaz once said. Are you buying beans?
Well, no, you see those string beans at the every so often I'll
Oh,
buy a string. I should have qualified with the
I
string
was
bean.
thinking about like they do have those like kegs full of lentils, or
Yeah,
not
no,
even like a hard
that
bean that
a
you need to
bean. Yeah,
cook,
no,
you know?
no. And I never
Okay.
get. I never. The only beans that I ever cook come in a can.
Right. Yeah, no, I had visions of you um collecting lima beans and going home and making a stew for some
Yeah,
reason.
no,
I
no,
was
no.
like,
I'm
oh,
really.
Chaz is up to bean stew? Who knew?
Yeah, no. That's gross.
All right, final barrel or not. Wireless AirPods.
Ooh, barrel.
I'm,
Uh,
I'm
I'm barrel
go.
because as a runner, the wire is hard. But and I'm maybe uh to barrel here, I just got the most amazing pair. I've been an Apple AirPod guy for a long time, just because the seamlessness of back in the day, remember when it used to be really hard to connect stuff with Bluetooth? Like
Totally.
you had to jump through, like I felt multiple hoops, and it was like felt like magic if it was even going to ever work, if it was ever going to
Yeah.
actually connect. And
Yeah.
so the seamlessness, but now I've realized that basically all Bluetooth things will seamlessly connect more or less. Like you search it, you hit it, maybe you have to download another app for it. All to say though, I got a pair of Bose earbuds. They don't even go in your ear anymore. They're epic. They wrap around the back of your ear like an ear cuff, and there's no thing sticking down in your ear, so you don't get tired of them. And it's like the most beautiful sound that's just like playing in your ear.
What?
Yeah, it's
It
really weird.
doesn't go into the canal or
No, it doesn't
the
go at
cup of your
all.
ear?
It doesn't go. It's like sits on the outside here. Sits on the outside of your
So
ear.
can other people hear it?
Well, that's what I was wondering. I don't think so. I think they figured it out somehow to just like, but it's like sounds like a concert in your ear because it's not like stuffed in there. It's just like free flowing through there. I don't know how it works, but it's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
My mind is blown.
Mine was too. I was like, kept trying. I was like, these things don't fit because I kept trying to stuff them into my canal. Then I was like, I'll just give up and we'll see how it sounds. It was like blown away. The crystal clarity, the Bose AirPod.
How expensive?
Well, it came as a gift for the wife, I think, for some work she had done for, I can't remember for what, but I Googled them. I liked them so much. I thought these are amazing. So they're $300.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a spendy.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
Okay.
spendy
Well,
earbud.
well, good news is I was anti, I'm no barrel on the wireless portion already. So now I was already against buying these before I even knew about them. But I'm done with the wireless AirPods. I don't know why. When they introduced them, I was like, oh, clearly
This is what you have to do.
I'm sold. Yeah, this is the modern progress. So I am now moving on to wireless AirPods. That was years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I've never been happy with them. And if you lose one, you can't replace just one. You got to buy. They're super expensive.
Yep.
They nothing bounces more unpredictably than an AirPod.
Yeah.
One will pop out of my ear, it hits the ground, it's gone.
You
Like,
have no
and then
idea where it went.
I find it 32 feet away under something. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how did it get over there? Like, what in the world? It never could have gone. A Super Bowl doesn't bounce that
Yeah.
far. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it is
Yeah.
shocking. Nothing is more expensive and has ever been smaller. That's another problem.
It's an extra
This
thing to
week,
charge.
extra thing to charge.
You have a
It
whole
falls out. It actually doesn't stick in my ear like it's supposed to.
Yeah,
You know
no,
what I
those
mean?
ones are not good. I mean, this Bose one is, I was anti too. I was ready to go back to the spaghetti. And you saw Eric Logan's big to Instagram spiel about we're doing spaghetti, like, or whatever. We're back. Wires are back. He did a whole, Eric Logan must be somewhat insane. It's like wild to me that he ever got a job. I mean, he must be like mentally insane because he went on to Instagram and did a whole spiel about wires are back. Like anyone knew what he was talking about. He had his wire. It's like wires are back, everybody. Wires are back. And he started
So
talking
is
about
this like a trend?
who knows? No, the
Oh,
wires.
okay.
It was just Eric being slightly mentally off. But in any case, yes. But I think there is, to Eric's point, wires being back. I think there is a movement back to wired stuff. A, because the charging. B, because they work better. They're like, wife does all of her calls with the old school, like just whatever, the one where you have the little microphone there
Yeah.
and the wire is wired in, never dies. You're
I'm
fine.
going back.
I would have if I hadn't been introduced to these bows, but also for running. The wire less, but the AirPod when I was running my ear would get sweaty and then it would fall. And so I'd be running the entire time, pressing it back in,
Exactly.
like every 4 steps, pressing it in. But this Bose thing, man, it's like a new paradise.
Apple's been pretty good at like engineering things that are better versions than other things, but the wireless AirPod, I think is total misstep. I never asked for it. Wires were totally fine by me all along. Sounds like Bose one-upped Apple in this scenario, which is good for them.
Yep.
But Lauren was vacuuming. She took her car to get washed and she was vacuuming. She had forgotten that she left one earbud in the cup holder and just got in with a vacuum. And like the moment she put the vacuum in the cup holder, realized the mistake she had made and then heard it get sucked up. And it's like, what do you do at that point? You go ask the lowly car wash employee to dig through the vacuum filth to find your one. And even if they find it, you want to put that back in your ear.
It's
no,
a
you just lost $150
down the drain, right in the vacuum, as they say.
You know what would never happen with is wires.
Yeah.
You would have had a tether that you could have pulled that back and saved it.
Exactly. Oh man. Yeah. Technology.
All right. Well, anybody who wants to get me a Christmas gift, those Bose earbuds sound like an amazing Christmas gift.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, gargantuan show today. Welcome back.
So good to be home. I have a tin of foie gras here for you that I will bring up to you when we see each other next, or maybe I'll send it.
Does it have an expiration date on it?
I don't think so. And it was I bought it off the shelf, unrefrigerated. So I'll check the expiration.
Okay, cool. I will make a special trip just for that, and I'll bring a bottle of wine.
Okay, perfect.
We can sit in the weekend van.
And this is great. This will be
luxuriate
with foie gras and wine. It's be a great show.
I like it. All right. Well, thank you very much. Go to beachgrit.com. Don't go to @surfjournalist on Instagram anymore. It is gone.
Rip. Thanks, Ricardo.
Rip. Thanks, Ricardo. All right. Well, until next week.
Keep work.